for the second straight week, Ferris State will be going up against a GMAC opponent. Last week, they went up against Lake Erie, which they absolutely dominated from start to finish. Now they go up against Tiffin University, which this is going to be a matchup I'm definitely a little bit more interested in. Not only because of how Ferris has been playing recently, but who Tiffin is, because Lake Erie was projected to be one of the lower teams in the GMAC. Tiffin, on the other hand, they're projected number 2 preseason. Ashland is the only team above them. So this is a dramatically improved team that Ferris will be playing in. This Tiffin team just went and beat Wayne State 34-7, and they're led by a quarterback that has starting experience, which is going to be really helpful for them in this game. But it's going to be truly led by their starting quarterback, Alex Johnson. In the game against Wayne State, he had 253 yards, throwing 2 touchdowns, no mistakes, 22 for 28. And he's a guy that started last year as well. So he has really, truly starting experience, which will obviously play a huge factor in this game, especially when you're going up against the number 1 team in the country in Ferris State, a defense that has only given up 11.5 points per game this year in the 2 games that they've played. And one of those games was against a team that at that time was a top 15, top 20 team in Pittsburgh State. I don't know exactly where they are right now, but outside of them and Lake Erie, no one's been able to score on this Ferris State team, and that's not the only scary part of this matchup is this offense for Ferris State, led by Wyatt Bauer, which I'm going to assume is going to be the starting quarterback in this game. I know that Coach Anise has said he basically makes that decision when the game comes around, but he started the first 2 games of the year. He's been great for Ferris State so far, and you really have an offense that just does everything pretty well, and that's truly what makes this Ferris State team so difficult to go up against, because this Ferris State team, if you look at their stats, they average about 478 yards of offense. 263.5 of those are on the ground. 114.5 are through the air. And they also average 48.5 points per game as well. I believe they scored like 66 against Lake Erie. Like, this is an offense that you really have to worry about every single level and every single player, because it truly starts with the offensive line of just how physical, of how big they are. And that's really going to be the truest test for Tiffin, is they're going to go up against an offensive line that truly is built different. It truly seems like it's not a D2 offensive line, and that's truly where a lot of this success from Ferris State has come from, is starting from the offensive line, protecting their quarterback in Wyatt Bauer, but also being able to open holes for him, for Carson Gulk, or for the running backs, for Brady Rose. It truly is that offensive line that really truly gets this offense going. And it's not the only reason. They have playmakers, like I'm saying, Carson Gulk or Wyatt Bauer, Brady Rose. They have a couple other wide receivers as well. They have talent around them. And that's just so unique, and that's just why this Ferris State team not only puts up a ton of points, but that's why it's going to make this Tiffin team a really difficult game for them. It's just because of how efficient this offense has been. And we have seen so far that no one's been able to truly slap them. And that's really going to be the biggest test this year, and the biggest test for Tiffin probably for the entire year, is what are they going to do against this physical offense from Ferris State? Now, let's say you stop this physical offense, or they don't put up as many points. Then guess what? Tiffin and Alex has to deal with this defense for Ferris. This defense flies around. This defense makes plays. They get interceptions. They play physical football. They don't allow a ton of yardages. They don't allow a ton of points to be scored. It's almost unfair to go up against this Ferris State defense. And while you look at the overall maybe talent that they've played, I think you really have to say Pittsburgh State is a really good team. I don't necessarily think Lake Erie is really up there with like a Pittsburgh team. I think this Tiffin team is going to probably not really keep that game close, to be completely honest with you, but it's led by an offensive coordinator that's actually joined this podcast. He was at SBSU at that time, so I do wish him the best of luck. He's been doing great at Tiffin, absolutely love seeing that, but it's just a really tall task. And this is a game that I think will be closer for longer than it was for Lake Erie. But I truly think that this is a Ferris team that is just continuing to be on a mission. And I just think that this Tiffin team just doesn't have enough offensively and defensively to keep this game for a chance to win at the end. Now, obviously, every single football game that is played, anyone can win. There's things that do happen. Tiffin can turn over Ferris. Maybe Ferris doesn't bring their A game. Tony Anise is going to have this team ready. There's a real possibility that this Tiffin team surprises people. And I truly think if this is a really competitive game, I think that's really going to put a lot of the GMAC on notice. I don't know how much notice they really have to truly be on when you're the second favorite in your own conference. But if you can keep this close, and I think there's going to be a real interesting conversation that's going to be had if that is the case. Maybe a little bit of the GMAC has to watch out for this Tiffin team overall, but I just think that the difference between Ferris and like a Wayne State, I think is a little bit too much. That's why I think that this Ferris State team will win. I also, obviously, they have another game up than Tiffin does, so they have another game of experience. Got some younger guys to play. If Ferris can stay healthy, I think Ferris wins this game, and I think they win it pretty convincingly. And I think that's going to be a lot of what these previews are going to be. It's just Ferris State winning. I don't really think there's going to be many games that are any games at all I'm really going to pick against Ferris State, because this team truly is the defending national champion. They don't believe in the idea of rebuilding. They believe in the idea of reloading, and it truly starts on that offensive line. And you just have to give credit to Tony Anise for just continuing to build this thing. But it's going to be a fun game. I truly believe that. I think Tiffin is going to put up a lot of fight. I think having an experienced starting quarterback in Alex Johnson and having guys on that team that can catch a little bit, like Ethan Holbrook was the main wide receiver for them against Wayne State, 8 receptions, 79 yards. You have Will Linkhart, 5 receptions, 57 yards. Ethan Holbrook was the only wide receiver to catch a pass in the game against Wayne State. If having that veteran quarterback can make a difference, I truly think that will help. And it will be interesting to see if this game is close, what having an experienced quarterback that has been there will do for Tiffin. I don't know necessarily if it will make too much of a difference in the end, but having a starting quarterback can and does help for these types of games. But yeah, really interested to see what happens between both of these teams. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be two teams with great offenses. Just truly depends on which defense steps up. And I think if you look on paper, this Ferris State defense just flies around, and I think that's going to make it a little bit more difficult on Tiffin than maybe the other way around. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed this preview. I will definitely do a recap of this game, talk a little bit about what happens, who wins, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Would love to hear your opinions. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and tune in to the next one.